Hey, I'm Indy Pride. Here in the Southern Chaos Waste, the Warriors of Chaos and Beastmen stand ready to bring Total War to a Bretonnian and Dwarf alliance. I'm playing as the Warriors of Chaos with a very small and elite army, chosen with great weapons, armored trolls, Chaos Knights with lances in the back, and of course, Kholek Suneater, the eldest awakened Dragon Ogre Shoggoth, wielding Star Crusher, electricity surging through that massive frame. He is going to put the hurt on the Bretonnians and the Dwarfs. Chaos Knights moving over, and my allies Admiral Thrawn and Gojira rocking with the Beastmen. Pretty standard builds. Minotaur cores with Gore Herd and Ungor support, and a Gore Bull each for that massive staying power. You plop a Potion of Healing on one of those bad boys, and they can tank through a crap load of damage. Looking at the Bretonnian build, we've got a Paladin on a Winged Pegasus. Got some Knights of the Realm moving over now. A main line of Bretonnian Spearmen at Arms. Pretty standard build, pole arms as well. And in the back, Peasant Bowman, King Louen Leoncoeur on Bakis the Hippogriff, and Grail Knights in the back, providing a lot of that killing power for the Bretonnian army. For the Dwarfs, we've got two Dwarf opponents, Dwarf Warriors with great weapons, plenty of Longbeards on the field, some Ironbreakers and Hammerers to anchor that main line, and plenty of artillery. 3 cannons and a trebuchet, lots of range firepower, and of course Beastmen and Chaos going to be looking to close the gap as soon as possible, although we do have some counter battery support with that Cygor Gojira has fielded, and we also have that terrain feature, that hill in the center of the map on the Chaos Waste. Will be nice to protect our armies as we close the gap between the two sides. So we're moving up our armies now. Looks like Admiral Thrawn is getting in a position to charge headlong into the Bretonnian army. How you want to engage with the Beastmen is usually send those meat shields up front. Ungors without shields, the spears, can do a nice job in tying stuff down, and let the Minotaurs engage right afterwards. It allows them to not take the damage from the enemy spears, but they still have those AoE attacks, so they'll still get their charge bonus off, and they'll still be able to attack through their own men without causing damage to themselves. Looks like the Gore Bull is going straight up the center. Let's get a nice little slow-mo look at this. Charge is going to come in, and that'll be 5 or 10 Bretonnians dead, pretty much instantly off the charge, getting gored on the horns by that massive bull. He's going to be doing a lot of damage. Minotaur is getting a little bit too far ahead of the meat shields, getting a good charge, but they will be backed up by the rest of the Beastmen army. You generally want those Ungor Spearmen to take the first engagement, because it'll just protect your Minotaurs and last a little bit longer. Look at that charge animation that never gets old. Seeing them dive through the ranks of the Bretonnians. It is going to be wholesale slaughter over here. Yes, the spears do have a bonus versus large, but no, they do not have the killing power to take down Minotaurs by themselves. I am going to miss a charge bonus here on my Chaos Knights, which is definitely a micro mistake. Grail Knights are going to get a flanking charge into my Chaos Knights, but I do have another unit circling, getting ready to get a really nice hammer and anvil off on this unit. You can see the way the Grail Knights kind of wrapped around my Chaos Knight. They didn't get a perfect charge off, and now I'm going to get a really meaty one into the back of those Grail Knights. This engagement should go relatively well for me, especially if I get Kholek Suneater into the mix. Now, Admiral Thrawn over here sent his shielded Minotaurs into the Knights of the Realm. That is not the engagement you want to take. You do want to let a meat shield take the charge from an enemy cavalry unit, so those Minotaurs are kind of getting beat up. They should win, but they won't do it very handily. They will take a lot of damage, and the Great Weapon Minotaurs are better against cavalry anyway. They do have a bonus versus large. I believe 24 bonus versus large. So he is going to lose a lot of his Minotaurs over on that side. I quickly decide to send Kholek over, because even though I am winning this engagement, there's a Bretonnian Paladin in the mix as well, and I think Chaosiv is thinking about sending over King Louen Leoncoeur to help reinforce. So this will be a very important engagement. If we can break the Bretonnian cavalry over on this side, we'll get the mobility advantage for the rest of the battle, and that will be very important in surrounding the dwarves and overpowering them. So Kholek Suneater and Star Crusher getting into melee combat now, smacking on some Grail Knights. They are going to get completely overrun in this engagement, but there are now more Knights of the Realm moving into position, getting a good charge into the Minotaurs with shields. They will die after that charge, I believe. And now Gojira is moving up. He's actually pretty shielded from most of the dwarf range units, so he's going to be able to close into melee relatively easily. Some of the Thunders are just now getting their first shots off. Ironbreakers and Miners dropping their blasting charges, getting some good shots into the Beastmen monster units who have broken a lot of the Bretonnian units, but they are low tier, they do have low morale, so they will rally relatively soon. But we've taken out a lot of the Bretonnian cav, which is good. Chaos Knights doing work over here. Even though I did miss that charge, still overpowering them. Kholek Suneater still laying the hurt down with Star Crusher. But King Louen is coming in to reinforce, and this is where things are going to get real messy. Kholek 1v1 against Louen will win, but it's still not a super easy fight. And it looks like there's even more cavalry coming in to reinforce. Downhill charge from the Gorbel from Gojira, and some more Minotaurs into the flank of these Dwarfs and Longbeards, and that is going to be absolute brutality over there. Looks like Lord of the Storm just got blasted off in the background. You saw that lightning coming down. Kholek Suneater's AoE ability, you'll see that put to use really well in this battle. And the Armored Trolls in the mix with some Slayers and Dwarf Warriors with great weapons. Chosen coming in now to reinforce. And this is going to be brutal for the Dwarfs. Lots of armor piercing over here. Slayers not going to be able to go toe-to-toe with Chosen. You can see, I love the Slayers killing animations. They're awesome. But with those great weapons coming in now, these Slayers are going to get ripped apart. Lots of decapitations. You just saw one poor guy. And one more. Oh, yeah. Beautiful. Just chopping right through his head. Decapitated. And that is going to be a bad engagement for the Dwarfs over there. Chosen and Armored Trolls ripping through over on that side. Kholek still laying around with that massive Star Crusher, that massive hammer, doing tons of damage. And we have pretty much won the cavalry advantage over there, but my Chaos Knights are very, very depleted. And now looking to push through the Dwarf Warriors over on this side and get into that meaty center of the engagement. Khazrak the One Eye, not on a Razor Gore Chariot, just dismounted, laying around with Scourge, that whip, and his big old runic sword. Although, he is going to just stop attacking right now. I'm not sure what the deal is. He might have been given a movement order, and he's not killing any dwarfs. Completely surrounded by Ironbreakers. He is actually taking some damage in this engagement. Might be trying to pull out, because he is kind of isolated. And he won't be able to beat an entire unit of Ironbreakers by himself. Kholek is moving up now, getting ready to cast another Lord of the Storm. And the Herald of the Tempest is going to drop that lightning right on the thick of this meaty engagement, right into the middle of the Ironbreakers, and they were full HP, had 100 men. Khazrak had not killed a single Ironbreaker. Let's look at it now. They're down to 77. Look at how much HP damage Lord of the Storm did on that engagement. That Lightning Storm did so much work right there. Killed about 23 Ironbreakers and did about a third of their HP. So really good cast of that spell. That was very important. It's going to do a lot of damage to those Ironbreakers. Now Armored Trolls in the mix, getting rid of the remnants of these hammers. You know, there's so much blood, so much death. Kholek Suneater now moving into the thick of the engagement as well. Big charge into the flank of some of these Dwarf Warriors and Quarrelers and Thunders, and getting oh my god. Absolutely brutal. And there are not a lot of ways for them to counter Kholek right now. Not a lot of anti-large on the field for the Dwarfs. The Slayers are dead, ripped apart by the Chosen. Ungrim's still alive, but Khazrak and Ungrim having a little bit of a duel right now. See how that goes. But the Dwarfs are crumbling over on this side. Balance bar shifting a little bit in our favor. Kholek moving up the center into the middle of this engagement. And Armored Trolls, oh my god. Y'all just slamming them into the ground. And those hammers are not going to be able to last for very much longer. I do actually have to be pretty careful with Kholek, though. They don't have a lot of bonus versus large left on the field, but they do have two ranks of handgunners, Thunders rather, who are now trying to kill Kholek. And he is pretty low. Gonna pull through that first rank and get into the second unit. Just trying to tie them down as much as possible, prevent them from firing, because he is very low in HP at this point. King Louen and those Grail Knights did quite a number on Kholek in the back. But now the Armored Trolls are moving into position, and sandwiched between Star Crusher and Armored Trolls is not where you want to be. Blood bubbling, exploding everywhere, gore everywhere. This is getting real messy. Another Lord of the Storm getting cast down, doing even more damage to, I believe, yeah, the Ironbreakers again. That is going to send them routing, running for the hills, Chosen with great weapons, cutting through them like a hot knife through butter. And now we have broken many of these dwarf units. Bretonnians are still running, but they do have a chance to rally. Very few of them have shattered at this point, and the Bretonnians do still have King Louen, who is ripping through some of these Armored Trolls and Chaos Warriors in the back, trying to prevent King Louen from taking off, but he is going to get away from that engagement and keep King Louen alive. But there's not much cavalry left on the field for the Bretonnians. Artillery has been silenced, and a lot of these dwarfs are running for the hills at this point. Chaos is not very good at chasing down enemy troops, but these are the Dwarfs, and they're pretty slow too. So even though Chaos is a very slow faction, so are Dwarfs. Kholek is actually able to catch up to a lot of them. Continue smacking people around, and we're going to do our best to prevent them from rallying and get a bunch of these peasant bowmen and these handgunners back in a position to start shooting into Kholek. Look at that sliver of HP he has left. Only like 1 or 2 volleys could probably send him, at least break him, if not just completely kill him outright. So still have to be pretty careful. King Louen doing his best to rally these troops. He's going to come down and actually go straight for Khazrak. About 2 attacks would be enough to finish him off, maybe cause some shattering on the main line of our Beastmen and Chaos units. Minotaur is going to surround him. He was going for Khazrak, trying to finish him off, but those Minotaurs are going to tie him up, prevent him from taking off, and now the Pegasus Knight, or rather the Paladin, is going to engage into Kholek and this Minotaur group as well. King Louen wisely deciding to get the hell out of there, doesn't want to stay in that engagement for very long, but now the Paladin is, unfortunately for them, going to get surrounded by my 1 meat shield unit, those Norskin warriors, and the Chaos Marauders, and we're just going to surround him. Surround the Paladin, beat him to death with Star Crusher and the Armored Trolls and Chosen, preventing King Louen from reinforcing, and this is going to be pretty much your battle. Shattering on pretty much all across the battlefield. Army loss is kicking in now, and I believe Ungrim might still be alive somewhere, but the Dwarf Lord is going to be the last guy. He's 1v1ing, or 1v2ing rather, some Chaos Spawn who are going to run away from him, don't want to deal with the Dwarf Lord, and he is going to escape with his life, but he'll shatter very soon. Master Engineer taking his gun out, trying to get some pot shots, maybe drop a model off his Chaos Spawn if he's lucky. See if he gets 1 more shot off. But now the Ungor Spears are going to charge in. Now he's going to decapitate one with that massive hammer. That's a really cool looking weapon. Don't see the Engineer used too often on the Dwarf line. Can be very useful for buffing up those cannons and range units, but it was not enough. And I will say, Dwarfs do match up pretty poorly versus Beastmen. I don't think Dwarfs, again, they are the worst faction in multiplayer right now. They're not horrendously bad. I don't think the power curve is anywhere near as massive as it was in previous games, like in Rome 2, where the top tier factions are way better than the lower tier factions, but Dwarfs certainly do struggle against the Beastmen. I think there's just so much armor piercing, and they really struggle on dealing with those Minotaurs. But good game to our opponents. Hope you guys enjoyed it. More games coming very soon.